right, good evening everybody. Welcome to the Daiwa Anglo-Japanese Foundation. My name is Jason James, working here at the Foundation. So today we're going to be talking about Japanese traditional crafts, or sort of new angles on Japanese traditional crafts. And this talk is partly linked to an exhibition at the V&A Museum, which is going to open, as I understand it, tomorrow. So obviously I haven't seen it. But we will be hearing a certain amount about it. And our main speaker today is Dr. Hideki Yoshimoto. So he is designer, creative director, and project associate professor at the University of Tokyo's Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology. And he has a rather unusual CV. So he started off in aeronautics and astronautics at the University of Tokyo. But spent more than 10 years, I think, in the UK, gaining a PhD in design engineering at the Royal College of Art, and then founding a design studio called Tangent here. And so some of his work is in this exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum. And he's the founder and creative director of Craft Times Tech, which is what the exhibition is all about. Anyway, he'll explain about that. And talking with Dr. Yoshimoto this evening is going to be Corinne Julius. So she is a journalist, critic, and curator with particular interest in craft and design. And she has done all sorts of work in this area as a reporter and producer on Woman's Hour, made features for Radio 4, contributes to Front Row, the arts program, has written for many magazines and newspapers, and is frequently a judge for competitions and awards in this field as well. And she is an honorary fellow of the Royal College of Art for services to design and craft. And I think I'll leave the introductions at that. So first we're going to hear from Dr. Yoshimoto, and then we'll have a conversation between the two of them. And then you'll be welcome to ask questions from the floor. So over to you.
Thank you.
Hideki.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming here today for my talk. My name is Hideki Yoshimoto, and I will talk about new horizons for Japanese traditional craft today. As Jason has introduced, I started my study in aeronautics and astronautics department. I especially studied computer science and electronics within that field. And then, I made a quite big jump from there to design field. And then, I'm working in the creative industries now as a designer. So I'm sure this kind of combination is making my approach slightly unique and, slightly different from other designers. So I think I want to show you a few examples first of what I have been doing. This is a sculpture which I created in 2019. It's the sculpture of the planet Earth, which is made of photovoltaic cells, like solar cells. It's the shape is a simple globe, but it's certainly involved some level of mathematics to make it, and then lots of iterations of trials and errors of engineering. Actually, this work was initially commissioned by MS for the exhibition of watches in Geneva in 2019, and then actually my company Tangent was asked by them to design the whole pavilion of the brand for the fair. More recently, this is what I did for Lexus, the car brand, this year in April when they had exhibition in the Milan Design Week, and I helped them to embody their vision for the future mobility and then the relationship with the people, with this huge interactive installation, which was like spanning for 800 square meters. So it was really, really huge. I had really kind of personal special relationship, not really personal special relationship, but Lexus is quite important brand for me because I got first edition. I got the Grand Prix award, Grand Prix prize in the first edition of Lexus Design Award in 2013, and then it made me kind of the real first step as a professional designer in my career. So I was kind of discovered by Lexus when I was a student, and Lexus gave me a kind of faster step as a designer, and then since then, during these 10 years, Lexus has been supporting me in in many occasions. So this is just super brief introduction of and some examples of what I have been doing. So nothing to do with craft, at least traditional crafts of Japan. But I'm talking about that today. So traditional craft, it's certainly in some level quite different type of creation from what I've been doing. And then in fact, until just 5 years ago, I didn't have any kind of particular attachment to it. I didn't understand almost anything about Japanese traditional craft. I thought that's kind of nothing to do with me. As you know, Japan has a really rich culture of craft. There are many different types of crafts everywhere in Japan, like every prefecture and then every district all over Japan. But I didn't know much about them. I was not really educated about that. At that time, the typical place I could think of with this word of traditional craft was something like this. On the 7th floor of the Japanese version of Harrods, and you will see these products of these artisans from many places in Japan, and it's kind of showcased. So it's kind of symbolized, or like it's some kind of cultural icon and cultural symbol, which I thought was nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with my life, my daily life at least, and nothing to do with my kind of professional career or practice. But what happened 5 years ago was I met one person. At that time I was in London and I was running my studio, design studio, and by introduction of somebody who I knew, I met one person from, he was director of lacquerware company in Akita prefecture in Tohoku in Japan. And I had a kind of brief chat with him, and then he kindly invited me to his workshop in Japan. So after a few months after, when I went back to Japan, I visited him. And then I stepped into his workshop, and that moment, kind of old Japanese architecture with like cold wood floor with really soft sunlight coming in. There was this person, kept brushing lacquer on many miso soup bowls in a complete silence. And then, looking at him, doing this, I was kind of shocked, and it changed my view of Japanese traditional crafts like completely. So as I said, I was thinking, traditional crafts, okay, it's some kind of nice version of miso soup bowl than what I had in my home. But now, it's super cool. This is super artistic and really cool. Creative activity. And I couldn't hide my respect to these people who have been practicing their top notch making skills every day for their whole entire life, and contributing to the history of 800 years in this case. In this case of Kawatsura lacquerware, they have 800 years history, so they have been a part of that, a part of this history, and then they are literally making the history. So since that moment, I really liked visiting these kind of workshops around Japan. So I went to many places, and every time I went to these places, there was lots of discoveries, and I enjoyed meeting these people, having conversation with these people, and telling them how cool you are, how cool you are, and how these kind of processes, creative processes, are kind of hidden from what I had been looking at in terms of traditional craft. And because I am a creator myself, I'm a designer. Of course, looking at these people, looking at these places, I couldn't stop my desire to do something together with them. I want to do something together with them. But I'm not from this. I'm not a son of any crafts people. I don't have any. My family doesn't have anything to do with craft. But I studied computer science. I've studied electronics. I am a designer, so I could do something together with them, which they probably cannot do. So I started to think about it. And then again, Lexus, in 2020, Lexus asked me to design a trophy for their Lexus Design Award, which I received 10 years ago. It was my honor to do that because it's kind of special award for me, and then it's related to myself. And then I thought this is a really, really great opportunity. Finally, I can do something together with them with a budget, and with the client. And I decided to do this trophy with Kawatsura lacquerware, which which made my first contact with this craft. And this is what I designed. I just wanted to explain a little bit technical aspects of this trophy. So the brown one is the kind of the main one. I mean, this is for Grand Prix winner, and the black one is kind of for the second place. But this brown one is finished by a technique called byakudan. Byakudan is kind of special technique of urushi lacquerware. Basically, wooden object. The wooden body is coated with silver layer, and then on top of this silver layer, they apply a layer of lacquer. And this lacquer, because it's sap, of tree, it has kind of dark brown color. But because of chemical interaction with the UV light, ultraviolet light, this brown color of sap becomes more and more transparent over time. This is an example. I took this photograph by myself. These are completely identical products. It's a plate, and then this brown part is finished by byakudan. The left one is just completed, very recently, and then the other one on the right was done like 6 years ago. So that brown part became orangish or goldish color over time because that darkness or brownness has gone because of the sunlight, and then it gets brightened. I thought this is really, really cool. It's really cool because it's kind of chemical effects related to this material. This is really magical. And then on top of that, this Lexus Design Award, just like me, it's given to young student or like a young designer who is nothing famous, and because of this award, I am here now, and because of this award, young student might succeed as a professional designer, and then over time, while he or she gets famous and famous, this trophy gets brighter and brighter and shinier and shinier, like celebrating that path. So I thought this, this feature or this effect of material went quite well with this story. Gold leaf is another material which I quite liked playing with. I created this art piece. It's quite big. It's 7 meters by 2 meters art piece, and then I installed in a temple in the Mount Koyasan in Japan. This is another sculpture which I created actually last year, and then this was again in Mount Koyasan. This got an honor to be exhibited in this famous garden in the Kongo-Buji Temple, which is the central temple of the Koyasan school of Buddhism in Japan. For the first time in its history of 1,200 years, so it's a really great honor. And again, last year, I had an ambition to do something more more special with this material, gold leaf, and then I tried to find a way to combine that material with the really special type of laser cutting technology. It's not easy, I spent like 1.5 years of iteration of trials and errors and experiments and studies. But eventually I managed to find a way, and then with this kind of super contemporary technology, this is not like a normal laser cutting which you can hear or see. It's really special laser cutting technology which you cannot find I guess, but Japan has only like 4 of these type of machines, that level. And so definitely kind of research level. And I used this machine to make so many, like millions of tiny holes, like a perforation onto the surface of this gold leaf to make this artwork. So the panel of gold leaf, well actually the sheet of glass finished with the gold leaf, and it's got like so many perforations. And I had the light source behind the gold leaf, so that light comes through, light is transmitted through the gold leaf, and then the people, you can see this effect of light and shadow from the front. I am pretty sure that I am the first man in history who could place a light source not in front of the gold leaf, but behind the gold leaf, and then play with the transmission of light through this material in such a precise control to make this kind of artistic effect. So it's a real joy, it's a fun, and it's a joy, facing with traditional craft, which sometimes have like 1,000 years of history. And I'm thinking, as a designer, what's never been done in that 1,000 years, or working with or talking with people who have been devoting whole of their life in craft, and I'm thinking something which they never ever thought of, could be possible, and on which I can do. That's a real joy, and I was so excited about doing that. And I thought it's too exciting to keep it to myself. So I thought, okay, I because this is so fun, I should invite my friends and more people to join me and to discover new kind of possibilities of Japanese craft and doing something new with 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 that type of creation. And that's why I founded this initiative called Craft Tech. And so this is the project which is on show at the V&A from tomorrow. The basic idea is it's simple. It's making collaborations between Japanese craft and contemporary design. And this time, as the inaugural edition of this project, I picked up 6 different types of craft from Tohoku region, simply because of my connection with that Kawatsura lacquerware from architect, because that was kind of my first contact. So I started with him, and then I asked him who he could recommend me, and he kind of curated these crafts from his area. And then instead I curated designers, Sabine Marcellis, Studio Swan, Ini Achibon, Yoichi Ochiai, who I'm sure had a talk here in this room in the past, and then Michael Young and myself. So this is really international group of people, and kind of my generations, most of them, and really people who I really respect, and then who I wanted to work with. Some of them were my friends. Some of them I didn't know them. Personally, I knew their work, but I didn't know them. So I tried to find a connection with them, and I made it happen. And so these people came to Japan. Well, we invited them, and we invited them to Tohoku to have conversations with the artisans, looking at their work, their workshop, the learning about their process and the materials, lots of conversation and lots of drinks together. Of course, designers stayed there like 2 nights, and like karaoke sometimes. That guy in Aomori, in a like really countryside, nobody has seen such kind of people, such kind of person in karaoke in Aomori. It was really fun. But it's a important part of this project actually. So that artisans, were really worrying about working with him. But after this stay and then after this session, they really like friends really, and they were kind of prepared to collaborate together. And yeah, so I don't think I have time to explain the details of each product or project, but these 6 collaboration had a fruitful outcome of a beautiful pieces of art. So these things are exhibited in the V&A from tomorrow for 1 month. So if you have time, if you have a chance, please come and see it in person. Yeah. So these, just briefly, this is a wood cabinet. This is a lacquered table, a giant table. It's a wood cabinet. It's so different from the traditional form and finish, but it's a really interesting work. This is another sculpture with a different type of lacquerware from Aomori. This is a tea house designed by Yoichi Ochiai, featuring the beautiful textile from Yamagata Prefecture. That's Marco Young designed table with a really clever system of modular system, featuring ironware, which is typically used to make teapots in Iwate Prefecture. This is my work, collaborating with pottery from Fukushima. And we exhibited it in Tokyo in May. This was the inaugural exhibition of our project. And then we moved to Basel in Switzerland to participate in a fair where we had an honor to get a prize, best of show prize. That was great. And now, yes, as I said, it's in the V&A. So this is our team that made it happen. Well, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hideki. That was fascinating. And in fact, you've gone over a lot of things we said we were going to talk about together. I trust you to behave yourself. And I will just explain that I've known Hideki for quite a long time. I think 2015, actually.
Yeah.
He was in an exhibition. I curate an exhibition every year called Future Heritage, which is about contemporary craft. And you were in it in 2016, and at the time, you were an absolute techie. You weren't at all interested in craft. You weren't interested in materials. You did, in fact, work with Cristina Vecchini, who's Italian, and Stan Chen, who's from Taiwan. And you worked on a project with them with glass and ceramic, but it was about your lighting in the middle. And you really weren't interested at all. So I think it's an absolute complete U-turn on this, which I'm, as somebody who's very interested in craft, but I see craft as going across from the digital through to lacquerwork. So I don't see a distinction. But I'm really pleased that you've done what you've done, because you've achieved a huge amount. And I'd like to go into it in a little bit more detail, but I'd kind of like to make a slight distinction. I think often when we think of Japan from here, we think of national treasures, we think of people who are very much artist makers with a particular way of doing things. When we talk about contemporary craft in Britain, we talk about makers who are people who are distinguished by quite a lot of intense intellectual rigor, usually an object that's going to be made with a very powerful narrative, quite a personal narrative, and who will push materials and techniques. And in a way, that's not the people that you've been dealing with. In Japan, I guess it would be more like Yanagi Soetsu is calling it Ninga. It's actually the art of the people. You're working with people who, perhaps a British word would be artisans, that they're people who are immensely skilled, but they make what has been made traditionally, and they will make it, and they've done it for 800 years, and they will do it meticulously and beautifully, but they're not required to come up with new ideas. And actually what you've been doing is giving them a nudge, and that's not an easy thing to do. So I will go through a little bit of it. I mean, that serendipitous meeting that you had in your workshop, which was it Keito Sato came, and what was it that suddenly, when you met him, made you think, actually, this could be interesting?
Yeah, I think I didn't see, those craft from Japan as a process, As I said, in a department store, I see miso soup bowl, cups and glass and plates, all sorts of things. They are products. I'm a designer, so if I look at these kind of industrial objects, I can imagine how it's made. How designers design this kind of glass, but somehow when it comes to traditional craft from Japan, because it's kind of too much kind of textbooks thing for me, do you know what I mean? So I didn't automatically think about it. I didn't think how it's made, how it's kind of designed or how it's created. It's a thing, it's an object, it's a product, which is on the textbook.
I mean, you say it isn't something that you have much experience of, but of course you know about it. And I just
Yeah,
wonder,
yeah.
when you went back from being here for 10 years,
Yeah.
whether when you suddenly went into his
Yeah.
workshops there,
Yeah.
you suddenly had that moment that
Yeah.
you
So
were 10
well,
years away, and now you see your country in a different way.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So I just realized. How people are making these kind of crafts. I mean, it's obvious, but somehow my kind of the mode of thinking was kind of slightly different. But that moment, when I stepped into his workshop, I started to see that as a creation rather than kind of cultural icon or cultural symbol, which we can learn or which. So that was a big difference. And then, as I said, probably, spending 10 years in this country, apart from my country, and then, looking at my own culture from kind of slightly different angle or a fresh perspective, I'm sure that helped as well, Um, it's so when I say this sometimes, but it's kind of feeling that you are grown up your parents' house, and you go out and live alone, and then you come back, when you are grown up and you come back to your parents' house, and then there is such a special thing in my house. I was a kid, and then I didn't think of how important or how special this is. But now I can understand. Oh my gosh, such a thing was in my house, and then I lived with this for 20 or some years, and I didn't think of it. That the same feeling,
So when you went back to Japan,
Yeah.
Saito took you round, and you haven't really explained, because he's actually quite important in the area, isn't he? He's got a lot of influence, and he
Yeah.
took you to look at a lot of workshops.
Not really, not really.
No?
I mean, he. But yeah, after in the process of founding or initiating the Craft and Tech project, yes, because he became the first person on the craft side or artisan side to get on board of my project, and then without him I couldn't do it. Definitely.
Because you went on a road trip, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was like 2 years ago, or 2 years ago. Yeah, him and me in the same car. I mean, he was driving and I was in the in the seat, and we drove 900 kilometers on 2 days, and from the north end of Tohoku, and visiting all the workshops who participated in this project. Because these people, we have to go and we have to visit and we have to meet, to show our kind of seriousness, and to show my respect. We have to go and we have to, do it properly. So.
I mean, before you went there, I think, did you go to Okinawa first, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, so since that 5 years ago moment, until quite recently, I was kind of traveling and, visiting those many workshops all over, not all over, but, around Japan. And yeah, I went to Okinawa to visit the Ryukyu Bingata and kind of textile workshop, as well as Ryukyu glass. Glass. Okinawa is also famous for glass, and yeah.
So why, in the end, did you choose to go to Tohoku? Is that because of that you had a good contact?
Yes. Well, as I said, that with the Sato-san from Akita, the Kawatsura lacquerware, I, I thought, this is kind of my personal thinking, but I thought I shouldn't, how to say, I shouldn't try to pick up the best option within the options. You know, I I thought I should just follow kind of, the, you know, people, the meetings, so so I chose Tohoku, not because that is the area which was hit by disaster, like, tsunami, or not because they have like a particular type of crafts or whatever like that. I chose it because of people, because of a person, who made the first introduction to me of the craft.
And how did you, I mean, so you went around and you looked at these workshops. How did you negotiate? I mean, you did your pitch up. You're a young man from Tokyo who does things that people, I mean, probably don't understand. They never have seen.
Yeah.
How did you negotiate with them
Yeah.
to say, I have an idea for a project? Because it was quite a radical. It's not something that happens a great deal.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I go to workshops, and then I see, those people working on, their practice, and I was like, always, I'm like, wow, wow, this is amazing, and I've never seen this, this is, how can you do that, and then I get friends with them, they like me, they are proud of their work, and then they really, they are kind of silent. They don't say much, they don't, of course, they don't kind of, how to say, appeal. But of course they are proud of what they are doing. So, and then I'm really honest, I'm not saying, wow, just because, make them pleased, but, this is just a genuine kind of create a conversation, and influencing each other. And of course, I show, what I've been doing, as a designer. They say, wow, this is amazing, I've never been seeing this kind of stuff. And then I said, can we do something together? I have some ideas, and especially, that I have an idea of bringing some people from Europe. Not necessarily Europe, but outside Japan, and making this kind of collaboration. And then they are, well, in many cases they are kind of upset. I can't speak English. Oh, I don't have my passport. No worries. We can help. We can help. Don't worry. Let's. This will be definitely great thing. So trust me, let's do it.
But even say when you're saying that, I mean, you're talking to someone who runs a workshop. You're asking them to interrupt their normal work.
Yeah, exactly.
It costs them in time and disruption. And often people being quite anxious.
Yes.
Did everybody say yes?
Actually, they said yes, but as you say, they definitely had that kind of feeling as well in parallel. And the one big thing is I had Sato-san from Kawatsura with me on my side, and so he kind of, he convinced them, and he convinced them, he didn't say, it's fine, he didn't say that, but he said, let's make a challenge, let's try it, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but let's try it. And so people are like, yes, well, we could try it, we don't know, but we could try it, and yeah.
I mean, that's the people who are perhaps at the top of the company. How about people, the artisans themselves? Because there have been quite a few of this, not the same projects in the UK and Europe, where designers have come into established manufacturing, and it hasn't always, well, it's never easy, but it's often been quite difficult because the designers are seen as somewhat arrogant. I mean, they might not be, but they're perceived as such. And the artisanal force feel anxious, but they come back and say, well, I don't know what, these people don't know, these designers don't know anything, and why are they taking our stuff and why are they expecting us to do things that don't work in our material?
Yeah.
And that's quite a difficult negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. So in this project, behind this project, the function of my team is really important. So firstly, we translate every conversation. Well, most of them cannot speak in English, so my team, not myself, but not only myself, but my team, translates every conversation. But also, we do not just language thing, but we translate concepts, translate ideas. Sometimes we support, literally, we do, CAD work of design, and we, for example, the designer comes up an idea, like kind of crazy idea, and obviously artisans cannot do it by themselves. We found factories or production companies who could fill that gap, and we of course design some, technically design some elements to fit that gap. So yeah, always our team were in between, and then I think even though, of course, as you said, those artisans, or sometimes, of course, the head of those companies, were still kind of, anxious, as you said. But over time, when the process of making, developed, I think the relationship was built, and then yeah.
I mean, because you've told us that you selected 6 groups of designers, some of whom you knew, other you knew their reputation. Were they allowed to choose what materials they worked in, or what workshop they worked in?
Yeah. No.
You were
No.
a dictator.
Yeah. Because of course, if there are 6 people, 6 arrogant people. No, not really, not really. Except some, but anyway, if I hear the voice of each of them, of course it's gonna be mad. I want to do this, I want to do this, and then if it kind of made a conflict, of course it's difficult. So I said all of them, listen, you cannot choose who you want to collaborate. I will do the collaboration, and I will do the pairings. Okay, and then all of them send me a message. But I want to do on lacquerware. I'm interested in this, and but it's miracle that there were no conflict at all. As miracle, seriously miracle, because it just went well. It never happens probably in the future, but for this edition, there was no fight, and yeah.
Did you give them all a brief though? Exactly what you wanted. I mean, because it is called Craft Tech.
Yeah.
And so, what was the brief that they got?
The brief was really freedom. I only said yes, as you said. The title is Craft Tech. The concept is Craft Tech. Because of my experience of that, gold leaf and laser cutting work, I thought at that time, like maybe 3 years ago, when I initiated this project, I thought that's super exciting and it's interesting. So maybe we can make more examples of same kind. So that's why probably I named it Craft Tech. And then I said to the designers, think about it. Think about the concept of Craft Tech. But you can interpret it as you like, and however you consider technology in your creation, completely up to you. But yeah, that's it, really.
And so, in a sense, was it a problem for them incorporating technology into craft? Did you have to sort of guide them gently or less gently?
Yeah. So I was one of six, you know, and then myself was kind of lost, you know. How can I combine technology and pottery? Of course, there is some people who are doing like a 3D printing pottery or something, you know, but I don't want to follow the same thing. So really, this is because of my position in this project. You know, I am the only person who I can see who can see the whole process of six collaborations, and so I can. I was definitely the how to say slowest in the group of six, and I made a lots of sorts of ideas which didn't happen or didn't succeed, and so yeah, myself just experienced how difficult it is to combine technology, and probably some of the designers.
What, as a result of, I do want to leave time for you to ask questions, but what did the designers get out of it? These six groups of people, what, at the end of the project, what do they think?
Yeah. Well, I think designers really enjoyed this whole process. I think just as I was before 5 years, um, you know these people, especially non-Japanese people, they probably didn't have kind of much thought or view or image of those crafts in Japan. But because of this project, they at least their counterparts, they understood and the material and the process and the people really in depth, and then they did kind of ambitious thing together with them. So most of them want. I mean, literally all of them are interested in doing more with the Japanese craft, and that's a good thing.
And so, what did the companies get out of it?
Yeah. There's a there's a there's a comment which one of these artisans made in an exhibition in Tokyo, and he was the craftsman who did the wood cabinet, which was designed by Studio Swine, the black cabinet, and then we spent like more than like 7 or 8 months to make it happen, and then finally we brought it to Kudan House. That was the exhibition place of our Tokyo exhibition, and then he said, looking at his piece, he said to me, Hideki-san, well, for the first time in this process of this craft tech, for the first time today, looking at this piece here, I firstly realized what we have been making, what we have done. And, he has been, of course, he has been with this idea, and then he has been with this, creation process of this piece for the long time. But he was so, how to say, because designer's idea was so different from what he is doing in every day, he was so kind of, lots of effort and thinking of, to make it happen. So he couldn't think of.
His brain was full.
Yeah, his brain was full. So for the first time in the exhibition, he realized what he has been done and how he has done, and then he said, and I realized we can do this. My team, my company, we made it. We could make it. And we could just realize that the new possibilities of our skills and our kind of scope. And he said, thank you very much. And this was, I think, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't forget the comment of his. And I think this is kind of, pretty much what the companies or fast people.
And will they go ahead and then do things that are more modern items that might appeal to a different audience in Japan. Is that what they're going to do?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, and not in Japan only, of course. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, because it's, which I hope you will all go and see it at V&A. I watched it being unpacked yesterday, and I'm going back tomorrow morning. Is that important to the companies, that they can then say, our products were shown at the V&A?
Of course.
And that's important for them as a marketing tool, both for the rest of the world, but also in Japan.
Of course, definitely. And then, the important thing is, it's not just a press value, of course, but it will bring new collaboration to them and to us. Already, after we exhibited in Tokyo in May, we already have some kind of inquiries from like big corporates, like famous corporates. We are interested in craft. Can we do something together? So that's really interesting.
I mean, I think it's important to point out, you may all be wondering, who's financed all of this?
It's so this is really ambitious project for me. I am we are a design studio, small design studio. We just design something within the budget which our client gives. So we are not kind of charity or foundation like this. So we are not a big company at all. So when I decided to do this project like 3-4 years ago, I didn't have any budget at all. No money, but I have to do it because this is important. This is fun. I have to do it. And then I said that aloud to many people. And then I visited so many companies, to ask for support. And then eventually, Lexus is supporting our project. Lexus is the main sponsor. They are not covering whole, but a significant part of the finance, and a few other companies are also supporting, and then we've got national grant as well. But 30% of the budget of this project is still paid by me. So that's this is how how this reflects how important this project is to me. I'm spending a lot.
So what have you got out of it? Obviously, apart from probably nearly a divorce and a rather large overdraft.
Yeah. So, well, designers, all the craftspeople, all the craft companies, everyone says, thank you, Hideki. Thank you very much, Hideki. This is a great project. Thank you very much for inviting us on a business class. I know you
can't eat thanks. You can't eat thanks.
Well, yeah. Well, literally, literally everyone. Both designers and both craftspeople, and even like my teammates, my colleagues, not in this picture, behind the scene, they really enjoyed this process. It was really hard work, but they really enjoyed it, and they are kind of passionate about continuing this project for the next edition. So yeah, well, everyone thanks me, and that's what I got from this project, I think.